Week 10 of the 2025-26 NBA season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net, and this is the show where we recap the week that was in the NBA by sharing the only objective NBA power rankings anywhere, the stats standouts. That's the best to do it by average in the week that was. And then we take a look at the viral NBA news in a segment we call Full Court Press. Finally, we highlight the marquee matchup for the week to come. We start like we always do with the only objective overall top 10 NBA power rankings anywhere. You can read more about how we get to the list and see the entire list at thepeachbasket.net. Let's take a look at the top 10 at the conclusion of week number 10. Starting us off at number 10 are the Los Angeles Lakers. They had a rough week going 0-2 in week number 10, and it cost them. They dropped from number 7 to start us off in week number 10 at number 10. They are 19-10 overall. The Phoenix Suns had a much better week. They were 3-0 in week number 10. They're 18-13 overall, and that 3-0 week propelled them all the way from number 13 up to number 9. The Minnesota Timberwolves were 2-2 in week number 10, and that was enough to bump them up one spot. They are at number 8 and 20-12 overall. The Boston Celtics are doing pretty good without Jason Tatum, better than I think a lot of people expected. They're 2-0 in week number 10, 19-11 overall, and that 2-0 week was enough to move them up one spot from number 8. This week, they come in at number 7. The Denver Nuggets were 2-2 in week number 10. They're 22-9 overall. A 2-2 week was not enough to keep them where they were. They were at number 5 last week. They dropped one spot to number 6 in week number 10. The Houston Rockets, identical to the Denver Nuggets, 2-2 in week number 10, 19-10 overall. And that 2-2 week cost them one spot. They dropped from number 4 to number 5 this week. The New York Knicks were 3-1 in week number 10. That is the defending NBA Cup champion New York Knicks. We're 3-1 in week number 10, 22-9 overall. The 3-1 week was enough to move them up from number 6 all the way to number 4. The top 3 have not changed for the last 5 weeks. The San Antonio Spurs were 3-1 in week number 10. We're going to talk more about them as the show moves on. They're 23-8 overall and stay at number 3 in week number 10. The Detroit Pistons were 2-1 in week number 10, 24-7 overall, and they stay at number 2. And the number 1 team is starting to show a little bit of, weakness maybe? And we'll talk about that a little bit. The Thunder were 1-2 in week number 10, 26-5 overall, but they are still the team to beat. They come in at number 1 at the end of week number 10. That's the objective top 10 list for week number 10. If you want to see where all 30 teams land this week, please visit thepeachbasket.net. Now let's shift our focus to the players. These are the best to do it by average in week number 10 of the 2025-26 NBA season. These are the best by average in shooting, rebound, assists, blocks, steals, points, and game score. Now, it's really interesting. For the first time this season, one player got, let's call it the triple. I don't know. We'll come up with a better name than that. That is the best overall shooting, the best in points, the best in three-point shots made, and the best field goal on average. That player was Jalen Ronson. He averaged 38.3 over his 3 games played to lead everybody. He made 5.3 three-point shots on average in those 3 games played to lead everyone. And he averaged 13.3 field goals made, again, to lead everyone. Jalen Ronson is a sniper. Let's move to rebounds. Musa Diabate was the top rebounder in his 3 games played. He pulled down 14.7 rebounds. He was also the top offensive rebounder, pulling down 6.7. He would have had the trifecta in rebounding if it wasn't for Nikola Jokic. He pulled down the most defensive rebounds at 10 over his 4 games played. Let's move to assists. Cade Cunningham of the very good Detroit Pistons led everyone at 12.5 assists over his 4 games played. Alex Sarr was the blocks leader, 3.5 shots sent back over his 2 games played. And Kevin Porter Jr. took away 3.3 possessions on average from the other team to lead the NBA in steals over his 4 games played. The top game score for the second week in a row belongs to the best player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic, with a astounding game score of 38.1 over his 4 games played. Of course, that includes his incredible, almost perfect Christmas Day game. If you haven't seen it, go and take a look. You probably saw it. He is the best in the game. Now, let's look ahead to week number 11. There are two intriguing games, one in each conference. In the East, the Detroit Pistons travel to Cleveland to take on the still trying to figure it out Cavaliers. Will the Cavs get a much-needed win against an Eastern team, or will the Pistons continue to roll? In the West, the young OKC Thunder will take on the not-so-young Golden State Warriors in San Francisco. Two good matchups, one in each conference, for us to look forward to in week number 11. And we're going to end the show with a segment we call Full Court Press. I ask AI for its thoughts on viral trending NBA news as we head into week 11. And this is what they came up with. Now, as always, it gives me 3 or 4 different options to choose from, but I really liked its pick on Wembanyama and the Spurs owning the champ. We talked a little bit about this before. Let's dive deeper into this dominance. We got to start by asking, have the San Antonio Spurs figured out the Oklahoma City Thunder? It sure looks like it. 3 wins in less than 2 weeks speaks volumes. When you start the season 24-1 like the Thunder did, you start to hear things like the team can touch them in 4 games. They are unbeatable. Then the Spurs beat them in a playoff like 3 games in less than 2 weeks. It means something. Sometimes you beat a team 3 times in a row over the course of 3 or 4 months, but there are injuries, concerns, things happen. When you beat them 3 games in less than 2 weeks, it speaks of volumes. And that's what the Spurs did. And suddenly every Western Conference team is thinking there's a chance against OKC. But do they have a chance, or is there just something special about the Spurs, especially or specifically when it comes up to that matchup against the Thunder? To figure that out, we dove into the numbers, and they're pretty telling. As we record this, the Thunder are first in the NBA with a defensive rating of 104.6. They're 5th in offensive rating at 118. But when you look at each of their games to date, they've outscored every team they've played outside of the Spurs by an average of just about 16.5 points. In short, they don't win games, they dominate. The only teams with a point differential against them in single digits are the Rockets, the Timberwolves, and oddly the Pacers. Everybody else lost this team on average by double digits. But then you look at what they do against the Spurs. And again, it's staggering. It's like you travel to the upside down. Everything flips. The Thunder have a point differential of negative 12.33 against the Spurs. They average 121 against everyone else, but only 107 against the Spurs. They hold everyone else to 107 points, but against the Spurs, they give up 119 points on average. It's craziness. The Spurs are just beating the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. They are dominating them. In the West, the only teams that most thought of as having a chance against the defending champs have been the Nuggets and the Rockets. Those are generally the teams in the conversation. The Spurs clearly belong in that conversation. In fact, they might be the only team with a realistic shot. That's it. Week number 10 of the 2025-26 NBA season is in the books. Join us again next week after week number 11. First week of the 2026 NBA season when we once again run it back.